It's Brendan, your technology concierge. Today I'm joined by Max Starkov, all the way from the US, and we're talking about a number of things, all things technology, basically. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Hey, good morning from New York City. How are you, Brendan?
Good, good. I love that background. I really love that.
Actually, I took the picture. This is from Central Park, looking down to 57th Street, and this is the so-called Billionaire Row in Manhattan.
Love it. I love it. Max, I've followed you for a long time, but for the people listening today, would it be okay if you just gave us a quick rundown on your background?
Background? Well, 40 years in hospitality industry, technology, revenue management, and digital marketing. The last 25 years of naturally online and in the digital portion of hospitality technology and marketing. I mean, I come from Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria, master's degree, undergraduate and master's degree in hospitality studies and international tourism, MBA Fordham University in New York City. The last 25 years I worked for the Ministry of Tourism of Bulgaria, director of Bulgarian Government Tourist Office for North America, worked for American Express in Europe. I brought the first Sheraton, managed Sheraton to the country, plus was one of the co-founders of Hertz Bulgaria. So this is all before I came to New York City 32 years ago. And so the last, I would say, the internet age, I was co-founder and CEO of 3 consecutive internet startups. Travelbreak.com, which was the first online travel marketplace where we had travel suppliers, hotels, car rental companies, tour operators offering their services to over 1 million unique visitors that we had, as our users. And that was back in '96. So we had practically the full internet universe was on our website. Well Media Technologies, which was the first CRS and online booking engine in hospitality, and then the last 20 years, Hebs Digital, which later became Next Guest, which is now part of Sendine, which was a direct online channel consultancy, technology, CRM technology, and digital marketing company. And that's what we did for the last 20 years until, we merged with Sendine. If you know, Sendine just merged with Pegasus. So basically that was my whole, how shall I put it? My vision is to create a end-to-end hospitality digital distribution and guest engagement, acquisition, and retention platform. And that's what Sendine is today. So I was very happy to see, that my vision came into fruition only recently. But anyway, so that's what it is. 40 years in 40 seconds.
40 years in 40 seconds. One of the things that you haven't touched on is you've been teaching hospitality for many
20 years now.
20 years.
20 years, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a adjunct professor or visiting professor, as it's called in Europe, for example, I teach hospitality technology at NYU Tisch Center of Hospitality, which is the hospitality school within the 40,000 student strong New York University.
Yep.
In the past, I have taught CRM, I have taught in hospitality, I have taught digital marketing, online distribution, and so forth, different courses. And also I teach advanced digital marketing strategies for Les Roches Global Hospitality in Switzerland. So 2 courses per semester, more than enough to keep me busy.
And out of trouble.
And just to, I enjoy sharing what I know with the next industry leaders.
and I share your passion for that. Not to the same extent, but I love sharing. Hence, I've been following you on LinkedIn for some time, and wanted to do this interview with you, Max. One of the biggest issues we're facing in the hospitality industry right now, as we come out of the pandemic, is the labor shortage. And a couple of people I've spoken to have sort of indicated, oh, look, it's fine. It's a short-term problem. Once the borders open and, we can have some immigration, then we'll be able to fill the jobs. What are your thoughts on that? Is it a short-term problem, you think?
First of all, this is not a pandemic problem, because in 2019, which was a record year in hospitality here in the United States, for example, there were 1 million open positions in hospitality in 2019.
Yep.
So that was pre-pandemic.
Yep.
And if we rely on foreigners to fill in those jobs, I mean, in the United States, there's a program where every year 66,000 temporary workers are allowed to come and work in hospitality. They come from all over the world. By the way, many students, just spend 3 months during the summer and so forth. Disneyland, Disney World, the different resorts and so forth. So there's 66,000 work permits that are issued to help with the labor shortages. Yet there were 1 million open positions. So what they mean is that we cannot issue 1 million temporary visas to fill in those jobs, and that was 2019. So just imagine, fast forward. First of all, the labor participation has dropped, and it has dropped in Australia, in Europe, in the United States. Right now, it's like 65% of the population or something like this actively working.
Yep.
And especially in the United States, for example, the unemployment rate is 4.6%. So, I mean, anything below 4% is considered full employment.
Yep.
And we're almost there, 4.6%. So in this sense, and right now in the United States, there are 10 million open positions across all industries.
Yep.
1.73 million in hospitality.
Wow. Okay.
We're talking about today. So
it's not a short-term problem.
So when people say that, oh, this is a temporary thing, it will be resolved, my answer is it will never be resolved, because it wasn't resolved prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And also, labor shortages are not hospitality native problem. You have labor shortages in construction, in manufacturing, in trucking. There are 200,000 truckers that are needed in the United States today.
Wow.
And these are the people that, with the huge rigs, the huge trucks, that transport all of these containers and so forth. 200,000.
Yep.
And they're no takers. And these people make
pretty good
60,
money.
70, 80, up to $200,000 a year.
Yep.
Yet they're no takers. So what I mean is that this is not hospitality problem. A lot of, and again, this is the politicians talking, oh, if we increase, the minimum wage to $15, then there will not be an issue.
Yep.
In manufacturing, the starting salary is $25 an hour, yet they have labor shortages. In construction today, it's $45 an hour. So what I mean is that this is a problem of all of the labor-intensive industries.
Yep.
And the labor-intensive industries are doomed to have this issue not for a long time, forever.
Yep.
That's my point. And I believe that the only solution, I would say, to labor shortages is changing the business model. For example, from a full service hotel becoming a select service hotel or limited service hotel, for example, killing your F&B, so you can do certain things in your operations, to streamline operations, simplify operations, remove labor intensive, for example, food and beverage, room service, forget it. You just, remove room service. Breakfast that is a la carte breakfast, no. Buffet breakfast. So what I mean is that there's certain business, I would say, tweaks to your business model that you can do.
Yep.
In order to simplify operations, but the most important, reduce the need for labor and reduce all of those labor-intensive operations. For example, what Hilton did with introducing housekeeping on demand, it immediately eliminates half of your of your housekeeping needs. Because if you go and stay someplace for 2 nights, do you really need a housekeeper to tuck your bed? And first of all, who invented this tucking of the beds in hotels? Nobody does this at home.
No, you're right.
Why do people do it?
Tradition.
It's such a. I mean, listen. I attended the boarding school. I went to the military in my native Bulgaria, and I'll tell you, every morning we had this ritual where we had to do our beds, perfect and so forth. Still, we didn't tuck our beds. This is like a self-inflicted wound, because I'll tell you why. Because robots today can do. If you look at housekeeping is approximately 175 tasks.
Okay.
So there's no robot that can replace a housekeeper one-to-one.
Yep.
But if you dissect the housekeeping job, it consists of 175 tasks. Different robots can do 150 of those tasks.
Wow. Okay.
They cannot tuck beds yet.
No.
But if you remove bed tucking, for example, and employing like a team of robots, different robots that do different things, then you can resolve almost 100% of your housekeeping today. So that's my point. My point is that hoteliers have to become smart, and they have to sit back and dissect their operations and see what are these points in my guest services, guest interactions even, guest services, where I can, first of all, I can save efforts, save resources, save human resources. And of course, and it's not only improving the bottom line, but it's simply, you don't have to hire those people that you cannot hire anyway, that you cannot find anyway. That's my point, because of the labor shortage. So in this sense, on one hand, if you dissect operations from the moment that the guest steps into your lobby, and first of all, mobile and contactless check-in.
Yes.
Immediately 50% of your front desk is irrelevant. You don't need them. And you will not fire them. You will simply
redeploy them, give them other jobs. No.
You will not hire them because you cannot find them anyway. So
True.
in this sense, you will have 50% of front desk people that you have to hire less. That's my point.
Yep.
And then for all of those that haven't gone through the mobile check-in, if you have self-checking kiosk in the lobby, you have some young guys. They could be interns that explain to the guests, especially elderly guests, how to do it and so forth. How they can self-check-in.
Yep.
And then all the mobile keys. So basically, you dissect the full, I would say, stay of a guest, and you see where you can do improvements. You can introduce technology in order to solve your labor shortage problems. And I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
It's not only when the guest comes to the property. outside of reservations, typically 50% of phone calls to the property, 50% are, where the hell are you guys? What corner? What exit? Explain it on the website.
Yep.
So you start by your website. You start by reviewing your website. All the information, is it correct? Does this information provide, the right, I would say, the correct information, the correct, I would say, descriptions and so forth, so that they don't call the property? Because if they call the property, somebody has to pick up the phone. Who is the somebody?
Yep.
So this is the point. So you start from your website, you start from your booking engine on your website, you start with your descriptions and photos, your visuals on the website, on your social media,
yep.
Through the distribution channels, OTAs, GDS, and so forth. And then from there, you channel those, during the planning and the dreaming, the planning and the booking phases of the customer journey. You dissect every single step, every single interaction between your hotel and the potential guests or returning guests. Yep. And then you see where you can introduce efficiencies. Some efficiencies are even better description on the website. So that's not new technology.
No.
That's not robots or AI. It's just common sense. So you start from there and then introduce CRM, for example. If you have CRM to communicate with all of the returning guests and all of the guests that have made a reservation and provide all the necessary information before they come to your property, before they even send the mobile check-in and so forth.
Yep.
So all of this, and then you have, you can automate this whole process from booking to people arriving at the property without a single human touching it, without interaction with a single human, which will save you. I mean, again, half of your front desk staff simply becomes irrelevant. You can deploy them to other better things to do. And then at the property, of course, during the whole stay, and what happens after the stay? I mean, after people leave. Again, for example, if you have CRM technology, you can communicate with them. You can send them a guest satisfaction survey, marketing automation, drip campaigns. You can keep engaging them, throughout the period after their stay, and hopefully bring them back to the property, as a repeat guest. So what I mean is that it's the first step, definitely, in solving labor shortages is to assess all the interactions and touch points with your guests pre, during, and post-stay.
Yep.
And if you do that, any hotelier would find areas to provide efficiencies, to introduce better systems in place, to introduce technology that will help and so forth. And believe me, because this labor shortage is not going away, period.
Understand. Thank you, Max. Max, we touched on robots. And as you said, I'm actually surprised that they can handle 150 of the 175 tasks that housekeeping do. I've spoken to a few hoteliers about robots, and in particular, five-star hotels are currently of the opinion that robots are not for them and probably never will be. They were the same people that told me 10 years ago that mobile check-in and mobile key would never become part of their operation as well.
Yeah, I know.
What are your thoughts? I mean, where do you see a place for robots? Is it limited service? And in five-star properties, they will be there, but they'll be behind the scenes, helping front-facing staff deliver better service?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. First of all, if you follow the steps of this Japanese hotel, Hanana, if you remember, 350 robots, basically the fully robotic operation of the hotel.
Yep.
I think that you'll be making a major mistake.
Yes.
That's not where we are today.
Yep.
First of all, the robots themselves, and Hannah discovered this, are not good enough.
Yes.
It's simple as that. So the way that I see it is robots should be introduced very carefully, after careful considerations, and in places where they already excel. And I'll give you one example. You have the Tipsy robot, which is a bartender. It's a bartending robot, which replaces 4 bartenders.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a major attraction. In Las Vegas, they have it. In New York, it's coming to New York City and so forth. So in this sense, in London, they have it. So what they mean is that this is a place where you can introduce a robot today.
Yep.
As far as other places are, if you operate a resort with big outside gardens and like a big estate, if you will, beach resort or golf resort, then introducing let's say robot security guards, robotic security guards, which are already in existence in many of the casinos in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Many of the airports in the United States, you can see them, going back and forth. It's Nightscope is the name of the company that specializes there. This definitely can be done today. I mean, a security guard, $30 an hour. That's the salary. A robot is $7 an hour.
Yep.
No perks, no health insurance, no nothing. $7 an hour, 24/7. That's what the robots do. So what they mean is that, so this is some of the things that you can introduce today.
Yep.
Now for the for example, food and beverage, already you have Piestro, for example, which is a complete robot pizza making robot, which produces gourmet type of pizzas at, I mean, a very low price and very low cost, I would say, and it replaces a full pizza restaurant. So if you're, for example, a hotel with some kind of a food and beverage, replacing the whole restaurant, if you will, with this Piestro robotic pizza making machine, it makes sense. So these are the things that can be introduced immediately today.
Yep.
Housekeeping, you can introduce, for example, Rosie.
Yes.
The cleaning robot by Maidbot.
Maidbot, yep.
I mean, 2,000 hotels already use Rosie. It's, it cannot prepare a room like a human housekeeper, but it can help a human housekeeper with some of the very mundane and very unpleasant, if you will, jobs. So what I mean is that, so the way that I see it is more like not 100% robotic operation, but cobots. These are collaborative robots that work together with humans in the same team, where the humans do certain things,
yes,
and the robots do other things, and hopefully the robots do the dirtier jobs,
yep,
the more dangerous jobs, the more unpleasant jobs, and the humans do more of a managerial job, and again the things that the robots still cannot do. So that's how I see it progressing. So cobots are definitely a way, like humans plus robots teams. It already has been most of Amazon warehouses. They operate in a cobot type of arrangement. Humans plus robots. I would say in many manufacturing places, that's how it's been done. So that's not a new thing for the industry in general, but in hospitality, this will be a new thing. So as far as the luxury hotels, I fully understand, because I mean the personal touch, the personal attention to the guest is paramount. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mandarin Oriental, for example. So in this sense, I understand where they're coming from. The way that I see it at luxury hotels is that they will maintain a human facade.
Yep.
For the time being.
Yep.
But behind the curtains, for example, salad making robots,
Okay.
line cooks that prepare the food so that the celebrity chef can focus on his magic.
Yep.
But the robots preparing the, cutting the onions and the carrots and the stuff, that's not a job for humans.
Yep.
Robots can do this easily.
Yep.
So, I mean, in the United States, there's a like a chain, which is like more than $1 billion valuation chain, Sweet Greens, which is like a salad place, with a lot of locations around the United States. So they have acquired a company that makes complete 100% robotic restaurants. Everything from A to Z is made by robots, and of course focusing on salads in this particular case.
Yeah.
So they claim we will not fire even a single person, because they have 4 or 5 people staff, but we will allow our staff to be creative, our staff to work with the clients, and basically to improve customer service and so forth, and let the machine do their thing, which they do perfectly well. So you don't need people to cut potatoes and cucumbers, because a machine can do this perfectly, much better than a human, more precise and so forth. So what I mean is that, so the direction that I see at this point is you take what's already proven in the marketplace, that already works as a standalone unit, and you start from there, you implement there, and you keep your human operations in all other aspects.
Yep.
And then over time, you introduce robots or AI applications, for example, or it's not only robots. When we're talking about robots, I mean next generation technology.
Yep. Because
robots are machines that can do certain physical stuff, but AI can do much better things. For example, and I'll give you an example. If you go to a hotel today and you need an extra pillow, what do you do? What do you do? You call the front desk and say, "Hey, can you send me a extra pillow, please?" And then there will be, first of all, somebody has to pick up the phone.
That's true. Yep.
Take this order and say, "Okay, room 405 needs an extra pillow." And then if they remember, they will call housekeeping and say, "Hey, go to room 05 and bring an extra pillow."
Yep.
And take them an extra pillow, because anyway. So that's the current process.
Yep.
If you have a issue resolution guest communication in place, which is like a messaging service, and there's so many players in this field.
True. Yes.
The guest, using his own or his or her own smartphone, will send a message to the hotel. "Hey guys, I need a extra pillow."
Yep. And
then, of course, it's natural language processing technology, which is AI, will decipher your message within milliseconds and say, "Oh, this is a housekeeping thing."
Yep.
If your bathroom is clogged, or the light is out, then it will decipher this, and it will send it to engineering and so forth.
Yep.
But it's all automatic. And then, of course, housekeeping sends a robot, for example, to bring it to your room, the extra pillow, or somebody personally brings it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that at the end of the month, the general manager can see, say, "What's wrong with our hotel? I have 150 rooms and 150 requests for extra pillows.
Yes.
So I better buy 150 pillows and just put them in every room.
Yep.
So you have the analytics, you have a business decision that's already made for you by the analytics. So that's where AI, for example, helps tremendously in exactly such issue resolution technology applications, which are readily available in hospitality. They cost $1 per room per month, $2 per room per month, depending on how complex and this and that. And guess how many independent hotels have those? 10%.
Really? Okay.
10%. That's it.
That is crazy, because as software as a service, there is literally,
no implementation.
No implementation.
Nothing.
And the as you said, inefficiencies and guest service, the solution pays for itself.
Of course. So my whole point is that, so when talking about robots, yes, robots are needed. I mean, for example, security, but security is not only a robot security robot. If you have a mobile key system, which automatically logs which door has been opened by whom, at what time, and so forth, and keeps security. So it has nothing to do with robots. It's a secure, mobility system, if you will. And many of those mobile key companies, they provide this type of system. So what I mean is that business processes, AI, definitely, IoT, which is the Internet of Things devices in the room, in a similar room like yours, where they, the IoT devices, they detect the temperature, they detect whether there's somebody in the room itself, the lighting and so forth. And then again, if you leave the room, 30 seconds after that, everything goes into like an
setback tip,
economy mode, into like utility saving mode.
Yep.
The temperature goes to a certain level, the lighting goes off, and so forth, and it's all automatic. So there's no need for a human to go from room to room to check, oh, what happened? I mean, did somebody leave the air conditioning on, which is so we're wasting energy. My point is that it's a combination of next generation technology applications that include physical, like robots. It includes devices like physical, like IoTs. It includes AI, includes automation, and the combination of them all actually is what a hotelier should be looking at, not just focusing on some how shall I put it, being obsessed with robots, for example, like Hananai in Japan, the hotel. So it's the combination of many factors, and what, for example, the Hilton and Marriott are working right now is the concept of the smart room.
Yes.
Where, based on your loyalty member preferences, the room automatically adjusts itself to your preference, which they know, of course, they know through the PMS, through the loyalty member and your preferences and your past stays, and this is a preference that automatically adjusted based on, Mr. Smith, when he's on business trip, he likes A, B, C, D, and E, but when he's on leisure, he likes 5 other things. So the system automatically knows that whether you're coming on business or leisure, the combination of the two, or business trip with leisure extension, for example.
Yes.
And then it adjusts itself automatically to your liking. If you need extra pillows, it automatically sends a request to housekeeping, bring an extra pillow. If you like a single malt Scotch whiskey, the bottle is coming and right there, with a bucket of ice. If you like this, if you like that, your Netflix login information is automatically logged into the TV set, and the temperature, of course, you like cooler, you like hotter, you like warmer, you like subdued lighting, you like extra bright lighting. All of this is changed automatically And that's what actually hotels already have rooms like this, Marriott's and Hilton's. And, Chris Nassetta, the CEO of Hilton, says that there will come a time, and it will come very shortly, when you will know your room and the room will know you. So in this sense, and that's the future of hospitality. And what's behind it? IoT devices, definitely. Definitely robots, delivery, concierge type of robots to deliver all these things.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence, of course. I mean, to remember all of this, and second, to make conclusions based on your behavior, past behavior, your preferences, and again to be able to come up with perks and benefits and different types of services that the system knows that you might like or you will like for sure. 97% chance that you will like X, and so forth, based on your past behavior. So it will be a combination of next guest technologies, not just of a single application.
Yep. So we need to look at it from a holistic point of view.
Yes. Holistic point of view, not only the technology, but also holistic point of view as far as the customer journey, because the hotel, whether the hotel realizes this or not, the hotel interacts with the customer in the dreaming phase, in the planning phase. In the dreaming phase, when somebody says, oh, I just saw this article, this blog, this posting, this social media about this amazing hotel in the Bahamas or in Tobago or in whatever.
Yep.
And so that's the dreaming phase. And then, okay, let me see, do we have the time? When can we go? This is the planning phase. Where exactly, how are we going to get there? Flights. And then, of course, the hotel. Is this the hotel that we want to stay? Is it very expensive? Is it cheap? This is all the planning phase. And then, of course, the booking phase, the stay phase, and then the post-stay, the sharing, the retention phases. So the hotel interacts one way or another in all of those phases. So that's where you have to analyze and see what kind of technology, what type of technology applications, what kind of efficiencies. Sometimes, I mentioned it's not even technology. It's like finding a better description on your own website, or or coming up with a local activities guide, tours, activities, experiences, attractions guide, and positioning the hotel as the center of the local universe.
Yep.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yep.
But again, so that's why it's not just pure technology. It's not some futuristic, like a science fiction type of a technology implementation that will solve our problems. It's a very comprehensive, very holistic, I would say, approach. And ultimately, if you look at it, it shouldn't be that expensive.
True.
It shouldn't be that expensive, because many of the things are simply brain power, expertise, and you can hire this, you can rent this expertise from outside. I mean, I don't even for a second think that a hotelier has to develop, has to know IoT devices, how they work, how are they installed, how they interact with the PMS, or let's say, AI. Oh my God, where do I start? Natural language processing, machine learning, AI, what is the difference? How do I start with all of those? No, you don't have to do that. There are vendors outside that specialize, smart vendors. All you need to do is to have a young person, like technologist, as we call it here in the United States, somebody who is not an IT, but somebody who understands the business applications of technology.
Yep.
And somebody who will be your leader in this whole transformation.
Max, the other question I wanted to, or thing I wanted to talk about is business of the future. So, US is ahead of us, but we're now coming out of the pandemic. Our borders are opening up, starting to open up. People are going to stay in hotels. Do you think that city hotels, large city hotels, which have been probably 70% corporate in the past, will the corporates return in the same numbers as they did pre-pandemic?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we are going back to normal, as many people are hoping. We are going forward to the next normal. And this next normal will be quite different than the old normal that we know in the pre-pandemic times.
Yep.
So in this sense, I don't believe that the corporate business will come in exactly the same fashion, in this mode. In the same time, I don't think that corporate business will disappear. It will come in a different form and shape. In the sense of, you have, even today in the United States, mid-size and smaller enterprise, the sales force from these mid-size and smaller companies that are hungrier, that has less resources than the big guys, they travel on business, even now. So they do travel on business. What you don't have is the big Fortune 500 companies, because of liability issues,
yeah,
and so forth, internal regulations and the likes, but mostly liability issues. Some of them were even warned by their travel insurance providers that, hey, no business travel. Then we have to, revoke your insurance or increase your premiums. That was during the pandemic last year. So in this sense, that's why I mentioned liability considerations by the major corporations, but mid-sized and smaller companies don't have similar considerations. So in this sense, they're traveling.
Yep.
Fortune 500 companies not traveling. The big corporate meetings are not happening yet. With 500 people, with kickoff meeting with 1,000 people, or corporate whatever is the United States annual meeting at with 500 people. Those are not happening.
Yep.
That's for sure. So what I believe in the future is that business travel will continue. Unmanaged business travel, you will have maybe 60-70% rebound, if you will, of managed corporate travel. Hybrid type of corporate events, of corporate meetings. So instead of 200 people attending, you'll have 100 attending, and the rest will be virtual. Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever.
Yep.
Virtual. So we're talking about technology here.
Yes.
Does the hotel have the right technology for this? For this type of hybrid meetings?
Yep.
So that's why, I mean, if you look at all the projections, especially for the United States, Q4 of 2023 is like corporate business will be back to some kind of acceptable levels.
Okay.
But in the meantime, there's a new opportunity for hotels.
Yep.
And this new opportunity is all of those remote workers. How do you train them? How do you energize them? How do you focus them on the corporate mission? That's where it's a new type of business. People coming from their weekend houses, from Airbnbs, and congregating in one place where they finally meet each other after so many months.
Yep.
Or they meet their boss for the first time face to face. And then, they sit in a room, they have all the entertainment. There will be more entertainment than actual work done in those meetings, simply because it's more like team building, team bonding exercises. our hotels prepared for this type of business? It's a new type of business.
Interesting.
And I think that this will be huge. And if you have the right product, you will get a lot of this type of business. Because mind you, the office environment, I mean, the cons and pros, I mean, but I don't want to go there. But in my experience, you achieve at least 50% of your knowledge as a specialist, as an expert in anything, through tacit knowledge, which you gain from your co-workers. For example, your co-worker working with a client that has this issue, which again, over coffee, you exchange information and now you're prepared. This thing cannot happen over Zoom.
Yep.
So my point is that we are missing the training. I mean, I remember in my company, we had a 6-month probation period. When we had people outside, out of college, 6 months probationary period, and they learned during 6 months. They took certifications that they had to take and so forth. You can take the certifications at home, but you will miss exactly this, like tacit knowledge that you can acquire from your surroundings, from case studies of your colleagues, from things discussed over beer during happy hour or over coffee with a colleague and so forth, with a friend. Many of because we had a lot of young people out of college and so forth at my company, many of them became more than just colleagues. They got engaged, they got married, like office marriage.
Yep.
Right now, you don't have this. So what I mean is that, so that's why managers are understanding that if they don't introduce some kind of face-to-face, even in a 100%, let's say, remote work environment, if a company has accepted, okay, we'll shut down the office, no more office, we will work remotely. Like some companies have done it already.
Yes.
I think that these gatherings, which will be more, as I mentioned, team building, bonding, get to know your colleagues type of meetings, and of course there will be the corporate side with the, with all the, here's our goals for this year, here are our objectives, here's what we stand for in the industry, all of the typical corporate, stuff. It's a given.
Yep.
But so our hoteliers prepared for something like this? What about a scavenger hunt as a team building exercise? How many hotels can do it? Such things. What I mean is that, what about a disco night? Like throw back to the 1970s. Are they even prepared to do something like this? So, I mean, that here the creativity can be, I mean, just imagine. But what I mean is that it takes somebody to sit, analyze, talk to potential clients, see what they want, and come up with a product. And this is, I think that this will be a very viable product in the coming at least 2 years.
I think that's fantastic. I love the idea, Max. I love it. Max, I really appreciate your time and the knowledge, and thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Brandon, you're more than welcome. And don't be a stranger. You know where to find me.